France, South Africa, the other giant enchilada that is going to be happening this weekend. Boy, oh boy, this is probably the most interesting game of the weekend for me. Well, why is that? Well, I can't remember the last time these teams met. Might have been recent history and I'm a dum-dum. But the reality is, these two teams are coming off pretty impressive performances in their past. Obviously, South Africa lost against Ireland and there's a lot to be said about that. But France are coming in and they look like a steam train coming out of their group stages. They beat New Zealand and they handled everybody else with pretty much ease. Antoine Dupont is coming back from his fractured face. And we're all a little bit disappointed he's not going to be wearing the mask.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
But the rest of the team is on fire. Their backs are dangerous and managed to threaten opposition by looking like serpents coming in from all different angles. And Pinard is obviously a try-scoring Jesus, but Jalabert is also coming into that 10 shirt for the injured Pneumatic. Pneumat? I can never get it right. He's coming in for him and he's looked like they haven't lost a pace. He truly has been sensational in this game. Their forward pack is dominant. They're doing some great misdirection of the lineouts, which I love to analyse. And their game style is just power rugby done right, with real kind of diversity and versatility in the backs, both attacking and defensively. The main thing that I usually think of is it's either Thomas Ramos that's doing the place kicking or Dante, who's basically like another back rower in there in terms of being able to offer turnover ball. So they are coming off on fire and they look physical as well. Obviously, a huge amount of credit goes to the French coaching team, but I really think their defensiveness has stepped up due to Sean Edwards joining their coaching staff. And not to take anything away from the other guys, but that little edge of defensiveness has really allowed them to be flair rugby, but in defence, snot some motherfuckers. South Africa, on the other hand, kind of a mixed bag in the group stages. They've got through, no worries there. They handled Scotland pretty easily, but being beaten at their own physical game against Ireland is going to send some shockwaves through them. Obviously, there was some missed kicks by Manny Libbok and Faf de Klerk, but you just wonder if maybe this is the time for Andre Pollard to come in. He got a few minutes in their last group stage game, and he might be the more typical South African fly half that you'd want in this game. You know France are going to attack you, and you might want to play the percentages, look for the corners, try and get turnovers in the opposition half rather than trying to beat them back at their own game. France are turnover machines themselves. Jonathan Dante is an example of having a fourth back rower on there, but they can really compete at the breakdown and they might slow the ball down enough to interrupt Manny Libbok if he's coming in at 10. But then there's the question of Andre Pollard has only played 33 minutes in the last X amount of months, so maybe that's not the best idea. But it's going to be a really interesting and fascinating matchup, and something of a little bit of a wild card prediction here for me. Jalabert has been sensational. 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 most games. He's looked the part, he's been great coming in. But just like Manny Libbok has struggled against Ireland when the game got physical and the breakdown was key and there were turnovers all over the place, maybe the same thing happens to Jalabert. Maybe he doesn't get the go-forward ball that they require. That stifling South African defence may inhibit that a little bit. And maybe in the second half, we might see Antoine Hastoy. He may seem like he's more of the fly half suited for a game like this, where maybe the only way to beat South Africa is to front up with them. Ireland gave the formula for it, and they definitely played the percentages, and they won a close game. Maybe this is more of Hastoy's game. I don't think he's going to start by any stretch of the imagination, nor would I start him. Jalabert has to be given his chance to go out there and really parade what he's been doing so far in the Rugby World Cup. But maybe this game doesn't turn into the flair attacking craziness that we're all hoping it does, and it turns more into a territory and turnover game. I just think it could. Both these teams have sensational packs. I mean, South Africa have two of them. And you just wonder that maybe South Africa, after losing to Ireland, try to go back to rugby they know, kicking the percentages. happy after 2 phases if they're not going forward to kick for the corner. Defensively, aggressively getting the ball back that way. And if they get drawn into that and France's ball is slowing down and Pennard has realised he hasn't touched the ball in at least 50 minutes, then maybe France have to answer by doing the same thing back to them like Ireland did. The thing about Ireland beating South Africa is it's given a formula to try and compete South Africa at their own game, and France, I think, have the tools to do that. So it's going to be fascinating. Who do I think is going to win? Well, if we're going off past performances, then France probably have the upper edge. They've looked great in every game they've played. They had a bit of a nervy start against New Zealand, but they found a way to win, and convincingly against them, which is very impressive. But for me, South Africa, it's not that they've got a lot to prove, but you know they're not taking the loss sitting down, and they won't have a kick of confidence because of what they've had done to them by Ireland. They were more than likely to come back with an incredible game plan. I think their coaching staff is second to none, and bringing a mentality of the team of it's us against the world. And I just feel like South Africa, even though I can't see the game plan they're going to do yet, they're going to have something up their sleeve for France. And I'm going to go with South Africa in this game. I think they're going to win. I can't see how they're going to do it, but I just trust that they're going to be able to find a way after being beaten by Ireland to settle the ship and really put in a great performance. Either way, I hope this game's close right until the last minute, and I hope it doesn't turn into a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. South Africa, for me, they just have a ton of options in their forward pack and the bomb squad, and their backs, they have some pretty damn good backs as well. And I can see them with the coaching staff that they have to be able to have the tools to turn this game in their favour and ultimately move on to the semi-finals, as knockout rugby really is their specialty. So yeah, I mean, make all my prediction rash and lacking evidence, but it's more of faith in what I believe South Africa can do to bounce back off of a loss rather than what France can do. And who knows, you know, France, as I said, they've looked really stout in defence and really kind of hardened up, where some areas were soft before Sean Edwards comes in. And let's say France go down 2 scores and they're down by more than 14 points against South Africa. Do we all trust that their mettle will stay, that they will keep a confidence in their gameplay and they won't start to panic? I can't think of a recent time in history that they did that and managed to turn it around. I mean, thinking of the Six Nations, I think they lost quite convincingly to Ireland once they went down early when they were away. Yeah, it was pretty convincing. So, I don't know. I could see South Africa scoring a couple of tries and the game plan for France starts to deteriorate, but I hope it doesn't happen like that. I hope we get the competition that we really, really desire here, and the 2 groups of death bind together to bring 2 fantastic games, one on Saturday evening and one on Sunday evening. But that's it for my analysis and my preview for this game.